How there for humans, and welcome to this video. And last time I looked at what is the best Tier 10 German Super Heavy, and this time I will look at what is the best Tier 8 German Heavy. Now, there is more than those four that I have right now, the VK45 and the VK168, but both are trash, so I'm not going to include them in this comparison at all. Now, first we have the VK100P. It's not good. It's just not good. The low plate's weak, the turret's quite strong, but the gun isn't too good. Like, come on, man. This is shit. Then we got the E75 TS, which is just basically a worse version of the Tiger II. The DPM's quite solid, unlike the Löwe. So the E75 TS and the Löwe are pretty much very similar in their playstyle. Both have weak lower plates, both have solid guns, and both have decent mobility. And then obviously we have the Tiger II, which is without a doubt the best German heavy tank at Tier 8, which is kind of a surprise because it's not a premium. Wow. Good job, Wargaming. I mean, they horribly overbuffed this tank to absolute shit. But anyway, they did it. They did it. They made one tech tree tank better than all the premium counterparts. Because this tank, unlike the Löwe, unlike the Tiger II, unlike the E75 TS, unlike the VK100, has an impenetrable lower plate, basically, for anyone that isn't a tank destroyer or a T9 tank with 270 mils of pen. So, I don't know what Wargaming did there. I mean, obviously they want to make this tank good again, but they overdid it a little bit. With a little bit, I mean, they overdid it completely. Because this tank, it has a very good, accurate German gun with solid DPM. It's not the best, obviously. The E75 TS has 200 better DPM, for example. But what this tank has is the armor. It is quite mobile for a pretty much 70-ton tank, and so you can get to your positions quite easily, and when you're there you have 8.8 seconds reload, 310 alpha damage, so you don't have any problem chopping down a FV201 like I'm doing right here. Obviously he has 600 HP less than me, even though he's the same tier, which is a good idea, Wargaming, right? That was a good idea, to just buff all the tier 8 heavies to shit to make everything else obsolete. But anyway, he's running away and just bounce the SU. Because also, even though the front of the turret is flat, it is very, very small, and it is very hard to actually hit that plate. So it is a lot more likely to either it bounce off the side, or bounce off the top, or the gun mantlet. So it is very, very lucky to actually hit the mantlet with premium rounds, of course, because you can't pin it with standard rounds. That's a fact, obviously, because it's balanced. The gun depression isn't the best, but it is good enough to work small ridges like this one. But the thing is, you rarely need to, because you have the armor to put up with it. Now, I failed that one because I over-angled and he was able to penetrate my side. And now, obviously, the SU can shoot HE at me. And now I have to get out of here because I have a dog shit team that went up there. And now I'm dead. But anyway, that was enough damage. And I hope that these idiots up there can now clean up. Let's get into the battle with the VK101P. And I just have to say, this tank is just absolutely horrible. Because it has bad mobility, you can't get it anywhere. And a tank with bad mobility is pretty much always bad, no matter what. The armor's solid, the gun's it's okay, but the DPM's quite horrible. 14 seconds reload. The alpha damage is okay, but anyway. It's just too slow. Like, it's slow compared to a Löwe, which is just like, what the fuck? You can go 20 kilometers an hour, which just doesn't do it. With 20 kilometers an hour, you can't go around the map. This is World of Tanks Blitz. An average battle takes about 3.5 minutes. But you're out of the action for the first minute because you have to get there first. It's just not good. It doesn't make sense. And also, it has a cupola on top that in the middle pretty much everyone can penetrate. T7s with premium ammo, of course. And the lower plate is very big and very weak compared to, for example, the Tiger II. So this tank has all the downsides. It is slower than the Tiger II. It is bigger than the Tiger II, which means it has worse camo rating, but that doesn't really matter because it's a heavy tank. has a worse gun and it has worse armor, so like, why does this tank exist again? Is it the fault of the Tiger II being overbuffed? Certainly. Is this tank bad? It is. The only thing that this tank really got going for yourself is the trade potential, the 460 alpha damage. Because, sure, in a Tiger II you can't really trade yourself with a defender or something like that. Meanwhile, in this tank you perfectly can do that. But then again, I wouldn't just sit in a corner and just trade, because this is not World of Tanks PC. In World of Tanks PC, those heavy tanks, they're a lot better because there's a lot more time and there's a lot more meat on the field. But in Blitz, where like everyone's everywhere, as you can see right here, it's very hard to play well in this tank because it takes ages to turn around. It takes ages to refocus on a new target. So you're gonna have a problem once you face any type of team that doesn't simply go to one spot, or a T7 tank that just sits in front of you and doesn't know how to play, obviously. Against these players, against these type of players that don't know how to play the game, these tanks are amazing, because as I already said in the other video, which you can check out in somewhere, that armor is good against noobs, because they don't know how to pen it, and they don't know how to outflank it and outmaneuver it. Now I'm against the Löwe, and I would say the Löwe is quite an outdated vehicle at this point. Like, it used to be a great premium tank. It is still a great premium tank for making credits, but overall, as you can see, the armor it's not really, it's just not heavy tank armor really, right? Like, you can pen the cupola on top, if I don't hit the optics. You can pen the cupola, you can pen the cheeks, you can pretty much pen the upper plate when it's below you. So it's not really a good tank anymore. I wouldn't say that the Löwe has still got it. However, it is still a solid premium tank for making credits, and that reason alone. Okay, now as you can see right here, I can't really help the T-34 because I am slow. I can't get over there. I can't help him because I'm just so slow and I can't reposition quickly, which is very, very important in an end game where it's like a 2v2, for example. Because the T-34 and the Defender Mark 1 are faster than me, they could group up on my T-34, take him out, and then go on me without me being able to go at him because I'm too slow to get there. But obviously they didn't play it too well, and they sat in front of me, which is exactly what you shouldn't do in this vehicle. Because the second you flank it, it is dead. But now, obviously, the defender's just running away, which obviously he can, because this thing's slow as shit, and it does also shit. But you just have to know how to position it well. You have to know how to angle it, and overall, it's just worse tank than the Tiger. The Tiger's just miles better than this thing. It's faster, has better armor, has a better gun, doesn't have the alpha damage. This is the only thing that this tank got going for itself. The alpha damage with the trade potential. Now, do you peek? You do, but I did track him. So like a good player would just run away now because he knows that I'm reloading. But he just stays there. Like the thing is, he doesn't need to be unspotted to run away. Because if he takes time to get unspotted and then runs away, T-34 got beyond him. So if that happens to you, and you get shot and tracked, and you're low, just run away. The guy's reloading, unless it's an autoloader. So you can see right there, if you play these tanks against bad players, you're gonna do perfectly fine. Otherwise, not so much. Alright, so now we are in the Löwe right here on Oasis Palms, and we have an ES75 TS in the enemy team. Is the ES75 TS a better vehicle than the Löwe? It certainly is, because the Löwe lacks armor and mobility. Yes, this tank lacks armor. Yes, it does. The turret cheeks are very weak. Like pretty much every tier 8 tank can just penetrate the cheeks of your turret, and the lower plate and this beam between the upper and lower plate is quite weak. The mobility is okay for a heavy tank like this, but this tank is all about the gun, and it isn't really a classic heavy tank, you know? This tank is more like a sniper, which is quite weird because it weighs like 80 tons, but it just is. So a direct comparison with the E75 is kind of odd because the E75 is more like a frontline tank, while this vehicle is more a sniper. So like, because the armor is just not good. It has thick armor, but it's not effective. And with a very accurate gun, this is more like a very, very, very heavy tank destroyer. That's how I would play it. But sure, some people are gonna call you a noob, but when you go out with 3k damage and they have 500, then you'll know who's doing it right. This is definitely not a frontline tank. At all. Like, the turret is effective against tier 7s and stuff like that, but once the tier 8 starts firing premium rounds, you're pretty much butter. You have no chance against that at all. So this is like a position where the Löwe does well at, you know? So like sort of middle in the map, you can snipe to left and right. Like, with sniping, I don't mean camp in the back and do nothing. With sniping, I mean like sit in a passive position like this and get shots all around the map, like I'm doing right here. Like I got shots here, I got shots here, and I can like pivot around and get damage. That's what I mean with sniping in this tank. Not sit at the back and camp. You should never ever do that. Because the difference between camping and sniping is, when you're sniping, you're behind your team, supporting your team, getting active fire onto the enemies. Camping means you sit in a spot and do nothing. Sniping is a lot harder to do because you have to reposition, you have to know where to sit to get damage, and you have to constantly take damage from the second or third line. Campers are just morons. Because, for example, if I would sit here the entire battle, I would have done exactly 0 damage. That's camping. But instead, I was in the middle of the map, taking my distance, letting my team work for me, and taking some damage along the way. See, this isn't the highest damage game because I had a pretty good team right here. The LTTP's on 5 kills, which is like, wow, in a tier 8 game. And they you can see right there, I mean, I don't really care anymore. I'm full HP, I can peek like that. Don't ever be scared to throw away your HP at the end, because if you can keep your team alive at the end, that's fine. Like, HP doesn't matter. You need 1 HP to shoot. Everything else doesn't matter. And now, you see the E75 TS is quite good with the turret armor, but as soon as you load premium, obviously it's penetrable. So, these two tanks are quite similar. Löwe and the E75. It doesn't really matter which one you play, they're kind of the same. But yeah, Löwe does make good credits though. As you can see, that is 100,000 credits right there. Out of a quite mediocre game in the Löwe. Well, it was top damage, but for me that's mediocre. But yeah, that's the Löwe. So now we are here in the E75 TS on Nube. Pretty much the worst map in the game that has ever existed. So, but obviously I'm gonna go over here because that's a little part of the map where you can still sort of play freely. Because wargaming is horrible at making city maps, they don't know how to do it. Why don't they just stop? I think the only acceptable city map is Himmelsdorf, but yeah, Dynasty's Pearl and this one can go fuck itself. So, anyway, but that's not the topic now, it is the E75 TS. In my opinion, this is the best tier 8 German premium heavy tank, not the best overall, because obviously that title goes to the Tiger II, without a doubt. What does make this tank special, however? The armor is quite solid, the mobility is Tiger level, so it's okay. And the gun has slightly more DPM and the accuracy is pretty similar. So, but it doesn't have the armor. The front is very flat, like the turret, everyone can pen the front of the turret with premium ammo. And the lower plate is quite weak too, and it's also very, very big, so it's not hard for anyone to hit it. The gun depression is decent, but it's not enough to actually make up for the flat turret armor right there. Okay, you have the Löwe, and I would say that this one is better than the Löwe because it has a little bit better armor, it has more DPM, so overall it is a little bit more all-round vehicle. Because, like, as you can see, the Löwe, it's not the best of tanks anymore. It has a solid gun, but it's a sniper gun on a heavy tank, which doesn't make sense. And the heavy tank itself doesn't really have that much armor. You can't really angle it up towards anyone except tier 7s. But with this tank, when you play a spot like this, it's pretty high, so I can peek over this thing right here without a problem. And even pin the Tiger's upper plate with APCR. So, let's get the Tiger. Can we shoot him? Yes, we can. But that one obviously ricochets. So I think the angle is 70 degrees that it auto ricochets. Because APCR ricochets at a smaller angle than AP does, simply because of the way that it's shaped. But anyway, now we cleaned up here, which is basically nice. Now we only have the Tiger 1 below us. And I somehow have to get down here, so I'm gonna take the direct route to get down there. Yes, you know what I'm doing. And here we are. There's ammo racked. And not just ammo rack them. There we go. That's a nice end. Boom. Let's see 75 TS. Best premium tier 8. But the Tiger 2 is just a lot better. Pretty average game right here. Not too bad. That's it.